So here we are, less than a week to go before normal services resumed. This international break, this interlull, this bore between the wars. England are not long from kicking off against the Ukraine at Wembley, and I'll be watching that match. And in fact, I enjoyed the England-Italy game. It was great to see England finally winning in Italy in my lifetime. In fact, it's been even longer than that since they won. It's been an incredibly long period of time since England beat Italy in Italy. So long ago, in fact, that actually they did it the same year Tottenham won the league, would you believe? Which is almost a full decade before man walked on the moon. So that was nice to see. And I always enjoy watching Jude Bellingham play. I think he's a fantastic player, once in a generation style player. And if only the rumours, the faint rumours that he might be coming to Arsenal had any truth to them whatsoever. Equally, I really enjoyed Declan Rice's performance. I could definitely see how he would fit into an Arsenal squad in that sort of Granit Xhaka position. I love watching Saka in an England shirt. I think he's an outstanding player. I think he's the best player in the world in that position. But at this point, I don't really want to see Italians flying into tackles against him. I'd rather he was at home in the tanning salon with Ben White. But Harry Kane did break the England record, and I was just utterly underwhelmed by it. That's 54 goals he scored for England now, and it's the same season I watched him break Jimmy Greaves' record for Tottenham and scored 267 for them, and it just left me flat. And I think part of it is this: it's 321 goals, and what for? Nothing to show for it. Not one single trophy. What is the point? There's been a lot of discussion about, should he leave to protect his legacy? Will he have a legacy? Well, football's a team game. What is the point? If you have a son or a daughter and they come home from playing football on a weekend and they say, "Oh, your mummy, daddy, I scored 3 goals today." What's your next question? Did you win? They say, "Oh, no, we got beaten 6-3, but I scored 3 goals." It's not an individual sport. It's a team game. When Harry Kane did break the record, loads of people were happy for him. He seems like a lovely guy. Everybody seems to love him. Everyone was shaking his hand. Antonio Conte even took the time to phone up. It's not the same as winning a trophy, though, where everyone hugs each other and you're doing it for each other. And years from now, that his teammates aren't going to tell their grandchildren about the day they were with Harry Kane when he broke a record. It's about lifting trophies. And I think the reason I was underwhelmed is because some of the other players on that list... And look, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, of course you feel that way. You're an Arsenal fan. You're just a bit salty about a Tottenham player breaking a record. Nothing could be further from the truth. In '92, for the Euros, I was willing Gary Lineker to break the record. He was just 2 goals away from breaking what was then Bobby Robson's England record. And I wanted him to do it so much. He'd given me so much excitement in watching him as an England fan. World Italia 90 had only been 2 years before. We went into the Euros with Graham Taylor as manager, all expecting that we would continue that great work. We lost to Denmark in the opening game. We drew against France in the second game. It was all on us beating Sweden to qualify for the next stage. And I really went into it with optimism and hope. And towards the end of the game, Alan Smith, one of my heroes, warming up on the touchline at last. Smith and Lineker playing together like they did against Leicester, like they did for Leicester. They could come on, and between the two of them, they would definitely get a goal. And then who does he bring off? Lineker. And that was the last time Lineker played for England. And so that record didn't get broken. And obviously it's been broken subsequently. But it's been broken by Wayne Rooney. There's another player who's excited me. And I didn't like him. I thought he was a kind of player I don't think any outside of Man United fans would have liked. But you have to say, in an England shirt, he used to set the place on fire. He was brilliant. So, I didn't begrudge him being England's leading goal scorer. And, he said some really nice things about Harry Kane and what a great player he is. In fact, loads of people have been saying, oh, what a fantastic striker Harry Kane is. But so what? Antonio Conte's meltdown, which I still remember fondly. And he was saying, it's hard to know who he really was blaming, certainly. But the point he made was, this is the story of Tottenham. I'm not saying it's Daniel Levy's fault. Certainly, look, Daniel Levy's made some mistakes. I think the sacking of Pochettino, you could look at, the hiring of Nuno Espirito Santo, leaving Ryan Mason in charge for 4 months, sacking Jose Mourinho just before a cup final. These are all things that you could point out. Certainly they've been mismanaged in some degree, and it does at times feel like they're more interested in Britney Spears concerts than they are in winning titles. But the other thing that keeps coming up as a conversation piece since Harry Kane nearly left to go to Man City is, should Harry Kane leave? Well, I think Harry Kane might be the problem, I think Harry Kane as a captain, he might just be too nice. He might just not have that desire. And then I was thinking about Bayern Munich and, the sacking of Julian Nagelsmann. And I've done a video on it, so if you're interested in the inside scoop on that, then follow the link. But a lot of people talking about Nagelsmann, is he going to Tottenham? Personally, I think he should hold out and wait for the Chelsea job. He's being paid by Bayern until he gets his next job anyway, so he's not in a rush. And I don't think Tottenham would appeal to a 35-year-old. I mean, unless you do look at it as that kind of the sword in a stone moment. Conte couldn't do it. Pochettino couldn't do it. Mourinho couldn't do it. Is he going to be the guy that's going to transform it? And I think, look, when I say Harry Kane's the problem, he's a symptom of the problem. That these players, and he's not the only one, in the last 20-something years, Tottenham have had amazing players. I mean, I'm just thinking Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart, Klinsmann, Berbatov, Sheringham, Kane, if you want to add him to that list, and it just hasn't worked. You think of players like Dele Alli, who showed so much promise. They haven't had the consistent mentorship of one man with a vision. I think they sacked Pochettino too soon. I think that the disappointment losing the Champions League final, I know they started the next season badly, but you have to ride through that, build on that, figure out who's going to take that feeling and roll forward with it. But I don't think Harry Kane's one of those people. I don't think he's had that manager, the Alex Ferguson, the Arsene Wenger, that can take him under his wing and guide him. Every manager that takes over at Tottenham has to kind of talk up to him a little bit and has to make him captain. And I wonder if Pep Guardiola could help him now, or if a new manager, let's say Nagelsmann did for some reason, perhaps he suffers a head injury and decides he wants to be Tottenham manager. What if Nagelsmann did come in? I think when I say that is Harry Kane part of the problem, he's not a clutch player, is he? I mean, that's 2 League Cup finals where he didn't turn up. The Champions League run they got to in making the final was without him, and then he came on and he was pretty much absent in the final. He doesn't turn up for the big games, England or for Spurs. The goals he scored a disproportionate number of his goals against lower division teams. He's only on a 1 in 4 or something like that ratio against the big clubs. And when it comes to finals, he's just... Origi, who did score in the Champions League final, it's like the polar opposite. He's only played a handful of games, but he scored when it really matters. Is Harry Kane a legend? Yeah, and he's broken the goal-scoring record. But I think legends in a team game are about what they do together. Look at the Lionel Messis. Look at the stadium it happened in, the Maradona Stadium. Look at the question that's always asked, who was the greatest footballer of all time? People always say Pelé. I mean, how could you not? Like, Pelé played in 4 World Cups. This is a great guy. But when you think of the teams Pelé played in, he played around some great players. I always say this to people. I say the Maradona side that won the 86 World Cup. Now, don't get me wrong, as a 13-year-old boy watching that match where Diego Maradona handballs into the net, I was livid. I'd never experienced such injustice. I could not tolerate it. It was terrible. And his amazing goal did not make up for it for me. But I can't name anyone else in that Argentina squad. Maradona kind of did it on his own. Harry Kane is not doing anything on his own. He's not lifting. He goes missing when the big games come round. Even tournaments he's done well with England, it's like 4 penalties and 2 goals against Tunisia. Skying a penalty against France, not really turning up in the final. I think Harry Kane should move on. And I think he's got years left in him. But when I think where he would go, yeah, look, at the moment he's not going to City. unless they do really sell Haaland after just one season. I don't see them playing together, and they're kind of focusing on Alvarez, and that's what they should be doing. He's definitely not coming to Arsenal. I mean, the chances of him doing this, I wouldn't even know where to play him in our team. Man United, yeah, he's definitely an upgrade on Weghorst. But then there's Weghorst. See what I mean? Like, Weghorst, these wins cups. Harry Kane. I thought about, could he go to Bayern? Because one of the things that's really unfortunate for Nagelsmann, and, you know, people haven't really been saying a lot of it. They've been saying it, Bayern fans have been saying it, but, you know, one of the things that he had to compete with was losing Lewandowski. And Lewandowski was exactly the opposite of Harry Kane. So many times in the seasons before he left, Bayern would be drawing or need a last-minute goal and he would step up and get it. That's not what you get from Harry Kane, is it? Harry Kane, let's say he went to Bayern. Could Tuchel get the best out of him? I think the fundamental problem with Harry Kane is he's just too nice. These are his words, by the way. I had the ability on the pitch, but not the confidence to stand up for myself. My childhood dream was right there, and I was waiting for someone else to hand it to me. I think he's a good guy, a nice guy from a good family. And when you read Alex Ferguson's autobiography, he talks about going and getting players with character. Players who didn't want to win, they just couldn't lose. Players who didn't choose football as a good way of making a living. They didn't have any choice. Fighters, people who will scrap to the last to win something, for whom winning is everything. And Harry Kane just isn't that. Now, perhaps with the right team around him, the coach can get the best out of him. There's no reason why he couldn't play in a winning team. But there is, I think, a reason why he hasn't so far. And I don't think it's Daniel Levy or Enoch. I don't think it's Villas-Boas or Tim Sherwood or Pochettino or any of the other managers. I don't think it's the players he's played around, although he has had some terrible teammates. I think you have to look to Harry Kane. The reason Harry Kane hasn't got silverware is because he's not that kind of footballer. He'll score goals when you're not needing them. He'll score bagfuls of goals when they don't matter. But I'm about to watch him play against Ukraine, and he'll probably score a goal now. He'll probably score a hat-trick and make this look like a really silly video. But if it's on me, I'm starting to look around. Now, Gareth Southgate, I'm not one to second-guess him. I'm really not. You know, in his position, I wouldn't be picking Harry Maguire at the back. You know, I'd be worried at, Kyle Walker being exposed. I'm not sure about Luke Shaw. But like I said, I'm not second guessing. Where I do think England need to start thinking about it if we're going to win things is making sure that we have that steel running through the team. And when your captain is a guy who can often go missing because he lacks belief in himself, then, that doesn't bode well. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm sure you don't all agree with me. I'm sure a lot of you are shouting at your screen right now and thinking what an idiot I am. Let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a heated debate. Anyway, I'm off to watch the football. If you can call it that, it's international football. It's qualifying football. I don't just get as excited. I hope we win, but much more importantly, I hope Saka comes through it unscathed and Zinchenko comes through it unscathed. And I'm counting down the hours till our game against Leeds and Man City's game against Liverpool. On which note, I hope Phil Foden's feeling better for it, and Haaland. It's just miraculous, isn't it, that suddenly their players get injured all over the place while on international duty. And anyway, be lucky. See you all soon.